Hello, my name is Big Bubble, and I sometimes go by the name of Simon, and this is a thoughts video. Now, this might seem strange. I'm doing a thoughts video on a game that came out in 2015. Everyone knows it's quite good. And what's really the point now that it's 2018? And the point is that Rising Sun is coming out, which is the spiritual successor to Blood Rage. So it's also the reason why I may have got Rising Sun was because of how much I enjoyed Blood Rage. So really, what were my thoughts for Blood Rage? Now, starting things off, I do still have it in my collection. It's right over there. I do have the Kickstarter stuff, so that has the extra clan, it has the 4 extra monsters, and it has those nice little plastic tokens. That, of course, does no way influence me in terms of my opinion on the game, since I played it a couple of times without those things, and the game's still really good. All that being said, however, let's just talk about Blood Rage, what I think about it, and if it's still as good as I think it is. Now, to start things off, for those that don't know Blood Rage is a game by Eric M. Lang, designed by him and then published by Cool Mini or Not. It contains a whole bunch of cool minis, and none of them are not cool, which is quite nice. There's a ton of Viking miniatures. There's different clans representing wolf and bear and fox, not fox, serpent, boar, snake, I think. Clans, you have a whole bunch of monsters like sea serpents, trolls, fire giants, witches, valkyries. You even have a giant Fenrir like wolf, all of which is really cool. And you're going to do battle on this Midgard size board. The object of the game is very simple. You're essentially trying to get as much honor as possible. You do that by drafting cards. There are 3 ages. In the beginning of each age, you're going to be drafting cards. And these will kind of determine your overall strategy. These could be combat cards, which will help you win in combat. These could be, say, improvement cards, which will help you improve your clans. Or it could be, again, these monster cards, which will just give you various benefits for having the monster out on the field. The game kind of starts off by you kind of customizing what your clan does by drafting these cards. For example, you might have a clan that's all about killing themselves in battle. As you progress through the game, you want to try and get as many of those cards that kind of help you in that regard. You might be a clan that just wants to have the most dudes on the map. It's a dudes on the map game, and you're just one of those people that wants to be the guy that has the most dudes on the map. And then you have the one guy that just wants to win battles all the time. It's grizzly. And that is one of the nice things about the game, is that when you do get into a battle, it feels intense. When you're not sure what cards a person has, it's gonna feel like it's gonna change something. Especially when you kind of can bait someone into a bad fight, and they might win, but then they realize they just ruined their whole entire strategy, and that just feels absolutely great. So you're gonna do that for the course of 3 ages, and over the course of 3 ages, the cards are gonna get progressively more and more better. Not all of them though. Some of the cards do suffer from being quite underpowered. Some of them are just far better than others. For example, the Sea Simp is a really good card in general, along with if you combine it with a few other cards. Certain cards are just better, and some cards are just really bad. I think there's one card in Age 1, which is like you spend 3 things just to move your leader after he pillages. It's not really that good. So you didn't do fight, and the person with the most victory at the end of the game wins. So it's pretty straightforward in that regard. On your turn, you're going to be doing 1 of 5 actions, which are all going to be to either place dudes on the map, it's going to be to move them, it's going to be to play a card or upgrade or a monster, and then it's going to be to pillage, in which case you start fighting each other. So the game is simple. The theme is very strong. It has wonderful plastic miniatures that really just help sell the game. And I do have to just touch on that a bit. I know a lot of people kind of harp on like, why couldn't it be cardboard standees, or why couldn't it be like, wooden cubes? And the fact of the matter is, prettiness does sell. I hate to admit it, but when you pick up this game for the first time, you get to play it with the miniatures, it feels fantastic. And also, it makes it a lot more easier to get to the table if it looks good. I can tell you now, I probably wouldn't be able to play this game as many times as I have been if it didn't look so damn impressive, and people just stop by, they see it being played, and they want to just jump in and play. As well, because the miniatures are so attractive. If it was cardboard standees, it wouldn't have that much of an appeal. If it was wooden bits, it probably would even lose some of its significance. I think one of the reasons why it stands out so much is because of the plastics. And again, that's not a slight against the game. It might make the game more expensive, but it does give it an edge to its competitors as opposed to this wooden cubes. Imagine Blood Rage, which is technically a very much a Euro game, but imagine it with Euro wooden cubes. It's not going to be as attractive to a buyer say, and a person who likes to buy miniatures, it's not going to be as attractive to a Euro game because it just doesn't feel that much of a Euro game. The wooden cubes might be cool, but they wouldn't give that proper sense. You see, it's rewarding to stomp down a giant fire giant onto the battlefield and destroy a whole troop. It feels amazing, and because you can take the miniature and do that, it's way more impactful than, say, placing a giant, say, wooden cube on the board and pretending that's the fire giant. So there is a reason for the plastic miniatures. Now, that's not to say the game is perfect by any means. There's flaws in the game's design process. One of the things is if you don't like drafting cards, or if you tend to think that you might have to hate draft, then that could be a problem, especially in this game where there's one card in particular which doubles your quest rewards. If you get this in the last round and you get 3 quests done, that's a massive swing of points that really can be competed with. There are other cards which, again, I just have to say are just better. Same, for example, if you get the Sea Serpent, then people know you have a Sea Serpent, so people are going to try and draft, say, the one where your ships get glory if they die. People will try and draft it against you because you don't want to give you the points. So there's actually a lot of hate drafting in this game, which I don't think is going to impress a lot of people. I think this is one of the major crux against the game, is that after 2 or 3 times you have already seen the cards, and by the 4th time you play, you have a fairly good idea with what cards are powerful and what's not. Now, this is fine if you're playing with the same group regularly, but what it means is your first game with new players is not going to be great because you're going to crush them because you just simply know more. Your second game with those players is going to be better because they know all the cards, but you still will do pretty well. And then your third game, that's when it starts to get interesting because there starts to be forming these kind of group dynamics and this group level of metagaming where people kind of know what your strategies are going for. You know, the death strategy. That's a really powerful strategy, and if people aren't expecting it, and they don't expect it in this kind of game, all about honor, then it's going to catch them off guard, and you're probably going to win going for that. And likewise, you kind of can't slant yourself by saying, I'm going to go for victory or winning battle strategy, because oftentimes not. It's the subconscious that you would go for the strategy that's the best. It's very hard to hold yourself back. And so what happens is the game kind of develops into 3 levels. The first level is when you're playing with beginners, and you just want to try and have fun, but you're probably going to win. The second level is when they start getting better, in which case it actually becomes a fairly nice game, but it's not too, bitter in a sense. And then the third stage is where you really get to the point where people start metagaming and people start planning out moves to the point where it does get a bit silly. Again, this is not bad things, it's just one thing that's probably going to turn off a lot of people towards the game. Likewise, you almost wish there were more cards. There are 3 rounds of the game, but by the time you've played the game twice, you've seen all the cards, and there's no real surprise when someone plays a really cool card, or there's no variance really. There's like I said, there's really only 4 strategies you can really go for, and that's quest strategy, or dudes on the map strategy, winning battles and losing battles strategy. They're all fun to go for, but I kind of wish you could be a bit more diverse in what you're actually choosing. I almost wish there were more cards or more sets of cards that could maybe be slotted in, so one game might be a bit more different than others. You know, if there were sets of ages cards, which you can be like, okay, well, this time we're going to use age 1A, and then we're going to use age 2B, and then we're going to use age 3A, and then you can next game swap it over a bit. Now this kind of is alleviated in terms of the expansions. There's the Mystics expansion, which adds Mystics to each of the clans, which are just basically extra troops which have slightly special powers, so they're kind of like leaders but not really, and they're a nice addition, and you can probably just play with them without anyone getting confused. And then there's guards, which guards you can kind of place on the board and they'll give it that kind of area a special ability for the whole entire game, and that's cool, but it's not really what you're really looking for in a sense. Blood Rage is a very well designed game, but it's not going to impress a lot of people. A lot of people who enjoy games like Cyclades are not going to enjoy this simply because it doesn't really feel. Some people aren't going to like the combat style, not knowing what combat cards people have. Other people aren't going to like the fact that people are getting rewarded for dying, or losing a battle. People aren't going to like that. And the thing to keep in mind is that dudes on a map is a very limited genre. If you go back and look now, Board Game Geek, there's actually not that many. Sure, you have the Cyclades set. You have Innis, Kemet, and Cyclades, all of which are very good games, and all of which can rival Blood Rage. I think Innis is probably the top rival for it, and I would almost sometimes choose to play Innis over this. But then you also have games like Cry Havoc and maybe Lords of Hellas, but there's not that many games out there. Now, it is nice to see that this is being expanded upon in the sense that Rising Sun is coming out, and that's now the new Blood Rage. But it does make me wish that Blood Rage saw a bit more, not say development, but just a bit more love shown in terms of what expansions get released. It's a very self-contained game, but it does limit itself to that. You want the variance that is offered to these kind of games, simply because it's going to change things around. Things like the Cyclades with the Titans expansion, that adds a wonderful level of replayability to the game, and you just kind of wish Blood Rage had the same things. Both of the expansions don't really add enough to really change up the gameplay. Now, this doesn't mean Blood Rage is a bad game. By all accounts, it's a very good game. I have it in my collection. I've played it close to 20 times, which is more than any other game in existence. It really was cool many are not being taken seriously as a board game designer. Originally, they only had released things like Arcadia Quest and Zombicide before Blood Rage came out. And Arcadia Quest is wonderful, but that was also designed by Eric Lang. And Zombicide is, well, not that great. It's kind of trashy, really. So for them to come up with Blood Rage was really a haymaker back in 2015, and is what prompted them to develop a lot of games using not Kickstarter systems. So, you have your console, or you have your, no, I'm blanking on games from Cmon now. But you have those games coming out because of Blood Rage. It's not a bad game. It's actually a really, really fun game. And I do enjoy it. But I do wish there was something more. At this point in time, looking back, Blood Rage is a very good deal. If you haven't played Blood Rage before, please pick it up and play it, and you'll probably find it full of fun. Looking back now, I'd probably say Blood Rage hasn't aged as well as it could have. It's still very good in its own regard, but it's kind of missing things like what TI4 does. It's kind of missing the longevity that's really going to make it a classic. By all accounts, people are still going to be like, Blood Rage should be in everyone's collection, but it might be left behind, and that's my biggest worry. A fantastic game, but I don't think it's going to stand the test of time. But still, if you like it, you probably want to have this in your collection. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, remember to hit the like button. And of course, subscribe. I will be putting out weekly videos. Once a week, that is a guarantee. And maybe you don't like Blood Rage. Maybe you don't like the plastic miniatures. Maybe I'm completely wrong about the whole using wooden bits instead. Maybe you're looking forward to Rising Sun, as I am, which are hopefully beginning next week. And so I'll be able to get a thoughts video on that for you. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.